TVs, they're one of those things that you gotta have them, but once you get one, you probably don't upgrade for a number of years. Typically, you only buy one if you need one for an additional room, maybe you're expanding into a larger home. And unlike, say, our smartphones, we're typically not upgrading them every year just because the features, the picture quality, and the overall experience that we get from these smart TVs are basically the same year to year. Now, if you do find yourself in a situation where you're ready to buy a brand new TV and you want top of the line performance without necessarily breaking the bank, I'd like to direct your attention to the TV behind me. This is the Hisense 65U8K. And from testing and using this TV daily for about a month now, I think one of the best ways to describe and summarize the overall experience that you get with this is that you're getting flagship specs, and that means really great picture quality, really great audio quality, and some really incredible gaming features, typically once reserved for significantly more expensive TVs. And so with the new U8 lineup, which ranges from 55 inches all the way up to 85 inches, Hisense is offering to the masses, probably for the first time, mini LED technology, some of the best HDR video quality that you'll ever see, as well as some of the most exciting gaming you've probably experienced on a TV this big, thanks to that 144 Hz refresh rate. Now, at about $1,100, the 65U8K is definitely not a budget TV, though it is definitely one of the cheaper options if you want all of those features that we just mentioned.
Now, design-wise, this is a very nice looking TV, but obviously when compared to the very competitive market where everything is trying to be the slimmest and sleekest ever, it's not quite there. And very similar to smartphones, TVs are following a very similar trend, always trying to be thinner than the previous model, but just as with that, they also usually have similar consequences in terms of limited connectivity as well as weaker speaker performance. That's not the case here with the Hisense 65U8K. Here we find a really nice sounding 5-speaker setup.
You must be prepared for war.
We also have the latest and fastest connectivity with Wi-Fi 6E and HDMI 2.1. You also have Bluetooth 5.2 for higher quality and lower latency playback. And for those in the Apple camp, you'll be welcome to Apple HomeKit as well as Apple AirPlay support. Installing and setting up our TV for the very first time is pretty straightforward. You can make things even quicker by connecting your smartphone and continuing the setup process there via the Google Home app. In addition to connecting your Google account and its history, you'll also be connected to your home Wi-Fi, as well as selecting which apps you want to download. As expected, along the way, you're going to be asked to accept a number of privacy agreements, and you'll also be asked for your local zip code if you want to access local over-the-air broadcasts. And altogether, I think the total on-screen setup time took about 15 minutes before it was done. We find most of the TV's ports on its rear left side facing outwards for easy connectivity. Starting from the top, we have one USB 3.0, 4 HDMI ports, 2 of which support 144 Hz and 1 eARC, an RF antenna input, a 3.5mm AV input, and a single 3.5mm audio out. Just adjacent here, we also find a few other inputs. Starting from the left, we have LAN, a digital audio out, and one USB 2.0.
We have the For You, Live, Apps, and Library tab at the very top. I rarely use this section. I don't even go under the App section unless I'm searching for a new app that I need to download. The Live section, if you're someone who just wants to hop into live streaming TV, you have a section with Google's offering specifically where, interestingly, you have to click there, and then you'll see it on the right-hand side. But down below here are from your other apps, and I think all these are from Tubi specifically. So these are broken down into categories, and then we'll go under the For You, which I think is going to be the most common area a lot of you would be using this. Top picks for you, a lot of these are kind of hit or miss. Some of them have really good recommendations based on things that I've watched on YouTube. Not the best area to find curated content. I like that your apps aren't too far down. Continue watching. Keeps wanting to put me back into Watchmen, but it has everything else that I've been watching, whether it's on Max, Prime Video, Hulu, or Netflix, as well as YouTube, right at the top there. From here, we can discover new shows. So if you've ever found yourself in a situation where you don't know what to watch next, and instead of hopping between Netflix, Hulu, HBO, and trying to find that next show, you can do it by categories here really quickly. You can see what's popular and new. And then they have a really cool section here, which is like the top movie of each year. And if you have that streaming app, it'll show you either it's locked behind it or it's open and available there. Now, being that this is a Google TV, if connected to your account, you can control all your smart home devices, as well as give it prompts like, what's the weather in Richmond, Virginia?
Today, there will be scattered thunderstorms with a forecasted high of 92 and a low of 69.
And if you've given it permission to access your account, you can also do cool things like, show me my photos.
Sorry, I can only do that once I verify your voice. You can even
Show me my photos.
showing your photos.
That's also another weird thing. Like, sometimes it recognizes my voice, sometimes it doesn't. Of course, we've got our Rats in New York, one of my favorite albums. The experience there also is a little bit slow, not something I would do all the time, but say for example, you took some cool photos from a recent trip, you've synced them to your Google Photos account, and you're with family, friends, and you just want to show it quickly without having to cast it. That's one way to hop into some of your latest photos, just show them off. Now let's go over the remote really quickly. But at its core, this just feels cheap and it feels uninspired. It feels like basically any remote that you've seen, even on a DVD player from the past 10 years. An all black plastic, non-conformed shape, it easily falls out of your hand. And again, it doesn't have that weight, that substance here to make it feel like a premium remote complementing a premium TV. This switches users, so if you have multiple people logged in with their Google account, they'll be able to see their recommended results on the home screen, quick access to settings, and of course this is the button that we've been using to demonstrate our Google features, whether it's asking it to play a show, asking it for the weather, asking it to show our photos. I've never been a fan of predefined apps on a remote because, especially if you don't subscribe to some of those apps, now you're just staring at a button that's always useless to you. The remote uses two AAA batteries, not rechargeable, not solar powered. So again, there's nothing that really shouts, this is for a premium TV, this is for a Hisense TV. It just feels like every generic remote that you've seen for the past 10 or so years. And now moving on to gaming, and whether you're using an Xbox or a PlayStation, it can automatically recognize the source and switch to it. And on the top left-hand side, you probably noticed that it switched automatically to 120 Hertz. And when we enter our 4K TV details, we'll see that our TV supports all of its HDR and 4K native 120 Hertz modes. Overwatch 2 is one of my favorite games, and even though I'm pretty bad at it on a controller, it's still a really cool experience to be able to get that fast action experience on a couch about 20 feet away. Diving into supported games like Forza 5, you automatically get the notification that its Dolby picture profile has been enabled. Racing games specifically like Forza, I think, are where the TV really shines best. Just between the incredible deep blacks that you're getting on the left-hand side, the beautiful sunset on the right without any color banding, and as we absolutely destroy both the environment and our car, this is an awesome way to get fully immersed in our games. And so circling back to those really powerful speakers, if you just want a TV that works really well out of the box, the ones built in here are going to do a great job even for gaming.
Now, specifically discussing picture quality now, the TV does reflect some subtle silhouettes of furniture as well as myself when I'm about 10 or even 15 feet away. It's not necessarily distracting, but the reflections are there. They do become less noticeable with higher brightness settings, and they'll eventually fade away from your attention once the screen is actually in motion. On a similar note, we also noticed that vividness does seem to be a little bit less pronounced at more dramatic viewing angles. Though when I'm watching the TV at about 15 or so feet away and viewing it from about a 45-degree angle, I still think the content looks pretty good. The TV has a claimed max brightness of 1500 nits, and while we didn't have the opportunity to measure it ourselves, just from using this TV, I would say it's impressively bright and can border on excessive in its default settings. From playing around with the settings, I found a comfortable balance with a backlight setting around 60 during the day and setting it to 30 or even lower at night. I'm sure a lot of you can also appreciate this, but what stands out about this TV is its ability to achieve deep darkness without compromising black levels, avoiding that risk of muddying the picture and losing all detail. And when I'm actually trying to wind down, I'll often set the backlight to 0, which offers a soothing nighttime viewing experience that I can actually easily fall asleep to. You also find a blue light mode, which can manually be activated or set to an auto schedule. As for other notable settings, under clarity, we do have options for sharpness, super resolution, noise reduction, color banding, as well as motion enhancement. So if you want that extra smooth experience when viewing content, or you kind of want to replicate that soap opera effect as it's known, that is available here. But of course, you can completely disable all this if you want the most authentic viewing experience. But on that topic, I would actually say the TV's default settings, including color, are really good out of the box, requiring no additional tweaks to look great. Whether I was watching something in SDR, HDR, or gaming, there was an excellent balance of vibrancy, sharpness, and color accuracy. And even some of my favorite classics like the Batman animated series are reinvigorated. And with supported HDR content like the Grand Tour or James May Abroad, these picturesque landscapes and skies exude vividness, and truly it is a very mesmerizing experience.
Now, shifting our attention and our lightbox glare onto the TV, I want to specifically look at the design itself, especially with regards to its bezels. Now, for the most part, pretty thin. I mean, we've only got a few millimeters here, maybe about 8 millimeters total on our side and our top. At our bottom here, it is a little bit thicker. It's closer to maybe almost 14 millimeters at the bottom here. At the very bottom here, this is actually kind of interesting because this is where we have a portion protrude downwards a little bit more. Now, the reason for this section at the bottom is twofold. One, we've got the IR sensor for the remote, although obviously we've seen implementations that are housed into the unit itself. They aren't so obvious, or they're just a good amount smaller at the bottom. But beyond that, we've got these two microphone arrays, and that enables the TV to pick up your Hey Assistant hot word from anywhere in the vicinity of the TV, allowing you to not need a remote to turn it on or off or give it commands, whether you're asking it to change the channel, lower the volume, play a specific program. And if you can wrap your head around the privacy concerns of your TV now always listening to you, it actually works really well. The other thing here though is we have a physical slider for turning the microphone on or off. You don't actually see an actual notification on the TV giving you that extra reassurance, letting you know the microphone on the TV is now muted. So there you have it. That's been our experience with the new Hisense 65U8K. There's a lot to love here, whether you're watching shows, movies, and especially gaming. The TV really stands out. But beyond that, it's that brightness that allows this TV to work really well in almost any environment, as well as that really impressive sound quality.
Its mini LED QLED technology creates captivating visuals, which appeals to both cinephiles and gamers alike. And so if picture quality and gaming performance are some of the most important things for your next TV, and you have a budget of about $1,000, then the U8K is certainly an excellent choice.
So let us know your thoughts on this TV in the comments down below, and if you have any questions, we can help you out there too. This has been Paul with MakeUseOf.com, and until the next one, we'll catch you later.